Well, hello everyone. I'm Facu from Yearn Finance, and this talk is based on a true story. What I do at Yearn Finance is I do PM stuff. I facilitate stuff for the strategists on the vault, but I'm not a coder, not at all. But for this talk, I decided to show the world that a strategy can be written by anyone, even by me. So what's a strategist? A strategist, in short, and this sounds like a joke. It's a big brain who can write strategies. But there's some nuances to this that it doesn't say you have to be a hardcore developer or a hardcore Viper developer or whatever, or a financial genius. No, you just have to know how things work. You know what's the relationship between stuff. And that's the core thing of being a strategist. Why would you do it? Because the team is amazing, the tech is fantastic, and there are some rewards. So Yearn paid $5 million during the 2021 up to the 9th of May. So on top of having an amazing team and great tech, the rewards are good. So bear with me with some theory about what's the vaults and what's the strategies, and then we get to the process of writing a strategy. That's the most interesting part of this talk. So the vaults are the first part. That's seems to be the simplest part. It's like it's a token container, like a big safe box where you deposit all the tokens, and that's it. Yeah, it does some accounting and some other stuff, but basically holds the tokens. The strategies, they do all the heavy lifting, all the interesting stuff, investing, de-investing, like collecting the rewards, and the best part is that you always earn in the same token. If you are a fan of DAI, you will deposit DAI and earn more DAI, and the strategy is going to take care of that. These two definitions are the definitions that Andre gave at the beginning of times, but I like to explain a little bit everything. So let's get a little bit deeper into what's a vault, how it's done. The vaults are written in Viper. Why they're written in Viper? It sounds like, oh, super weird language. No, it's because it has better math support. They also give you an ERC20 when you deposit. It's like a receipt. It's like something for you to redeem your deposit. The good thing about being an ERC20 is that you can transfer, you can swap, you can use that as collateral, and you can do everything you do with any other token, like ETH or DAI or whatever. It keeps track of your shares. The shares it's actually those tokens, those ERC20s, and the price per share. That is the money that you've been earning. This is an important thing. It's immutable. It has only tiny parts that you can change, and we try to keep the address injection to the minimum. And that's really important to assure that the vault is going to do what it says, that the contract is not going to change too much over time. This is a V2 feature. It can run multiple strategies at the same time. It's like an octopus running multiple investments at the same time. This averages the risk. And the keepers are decentralized bots who helps us keep everything running and everything okay. And it's, again, decentralized. What about strategies? Yeah, they are written in Solidity. It's a different language, but it has a reason also, because you can inherit. That is to say that you have a base contract, you inherit most of the functionality, that is the interaction between the strategies and the vault, and you have to code only the custom logic that you're going to use. And that's amazing. And anyways, Solidity is much more popular than Viper, so that's better to have more people developing strategies. They manage the accounting of the strategy, like how many tokens they have, how many tokens are invested, how many rewards do they have, and everything. They invest and recycle. This is what I said earlier. They do all the heavy lifting, the harvest return, and the slippage, because when you have a lot of funds and you are going to swap them for another token, you are probably going to hit slippage. So we have to do it little by little. And in the debt-based strategies, like a MakerDAO CDP, a collateralized debt position, they keep the collateral healthy. And that's super important because you don't have to care about it. We take care about it. This is an example because if not, it seems too abstract. like how the width vault is distributed, has the capital distributed among all the strategies. You will see that the strategies have different allocations. We call them debt allocation. Why? Because how it works is the strategies take loans, they borrow money from the vault. And that's the concept you are going to see in the name of the functions and everything. And you can have strategies that are ready to accept capital. They have zero debt allocation. So we're always waiting for the next opportunity. So you will see that we have these strategies with zero allocation waiting for the right opportunity. Okay, this is like super technical, but it's really important because I feel like to understand the interaction is the most important part, if not the only part important to understand about the whole schema. So you have all the components, the keeper, the vault, the strategy, a different protocol, no matter what, and decentralized exchange to exchange the tokens for the one token. So the keepers are bots that are always monitoring the harvest trigger. What's the harvest trigger? It's a Boolean. It's something that says true or false when it's really the best time to collect the rewards because we have to pay gas. So if the gas is too high or the rewards are too low, we're not going to harvest. When that's true, the keeper called the harvest function. The harvest is just like farming. They're going to collect the rewards and recycle them. In the strategy, that's the important thing. The strategy is going to claim the rewards from the DeFi protocol. When it gets the rewards in no matter what token, it's going to swap them for the one token, the token you used to deposit, like ETH or DAI or whatever. And it's going to get some one token. Then the strategy has to report to the vault because the vault is taking care of the accounting. So it does a report and the vault adjusts the debt available. Because if you have too much money in a strategy, that's not good. Because what we're trying to do is to average the risk and to not crash any protocol because the vault has, or the strategy has a lot of money. The adjust position, that technical function there, the only thing it does is adjusting really the amount of money invested in that protocol. And then it returns success and that's it. I know it says, when you see it, it's like super technical, but when you take a closer look, it's like super intuitive how it works. Okay, that's the theory. Now let's get to the practical part. Like, what's our process to write a strategy and how simple it is. Okay, this is what you need. First, the software. You gotta download this bunch of software. Git, because we use GitHub for everything. We want to keep things transparent. ETH-Brownie and Ganache is the framework we use. Sorry guys, if you're using hard hat, you're going to learn some Python. It's not that hard, I did it. The Brownie strategy mix, that's the cool part because we coded, and it's not me, all the interactions between the strategy and the vault. Yeah, so you only have to implement some functions. You don't have to implement all this stuff we saw in the graphic before. And VS Code, I use VS Code, you can use Beam, Nano, Notepad, whatever you want. And those are the skills. This is what I had when I started writing a strategy. I submitted the talk. I didn't know if I was going to make it. And I started writing a strategy. I had some programming experience, PHP, like a contact form, HTML, and CSS. That's what I started with. And Crypto Zombies. I did it up until level 4. And I tried to do the Ethernaut for real. But it was like level 1 or 2, so I was kind of ashamed to put it. And the last two things, it's understanding how things interact. That's why I make like so much emphasis in how vaults and strategies interact. That's the important part. And a ton of willpower. I just sat down and tried to code. You're going to have like a lot of misses, a lot of tests failing, but in the end, you're going to make it. This is the process. In Yearn, we keep things safe. So we have this process. We're going to go over it to see what's each part, and you are going to see that coding is the least of your worries. We don't want people wasting time coding, so the due diligence is a little investigation about how the protocol works, how the security of the protocol is, if there are withdrawal fees, deposit fees, how's the multi-sig, does it have 2 signers, 3 signers, 5 signers, etc. Code itself, audits are really hard, so we have the strategists review among themselves as peers. Then you can publish as experimental in EPTAX. Code dev review, it's one of the security experts are going to review it. And in parallel, the safe farming committee, it's a committee of 13 people that are going to evaluate the security of the strat. You go to production. So let's go. Due diligence. Okay, a lot of stacks. Important part, ruggability of the protocol. You gotta evaluate how, is it easy to rug the users? Is it not easy? And the good part about this, if you find a protocol that has, I don't know, like a multi-sig, 1 of 2, you can ask the devs, hey guys, do you mind changing this? Because we want to do a strategy in this and that and whatever. And most of the times, you will find that they are really receptive. And you can talk with them, and they're willing to change it. Describing risk, that's the usual thing. Taking a look at audits. It's like keep finding out fixes if they acknowledge the problems and everything. And the last part, it's super important because we don't have a magic orb to know the future or what you want to do. So if you want to just publish to EPTAX is the experimental web UI. You have to say yes, and you are not going to deploy to production. But if you are going to deploy to production, we have to have an emergency plan. Because when things get bad, it's not easy to think straight. So we need to have an emergency plan to withdraw the funds and save the users. Okay, a lot of stacks again. We don't care. It's clone the repo, the one I told you. This is like step by step. Code the strategy. What does it mean? You have to just code 3 functions at least. Prepare return, that is for accounting. That's super important. Even if it's accounting, it sounds like, oh, accounting, it doesn't care because it's the funds. It's how the user's funds are going to be accounted inside the strategy. The adjust position that we talked about earlier, that invests the funds into a protocol. If you're going to stake, for example, as my strategy, it was staking in governance of 88 MPH and collect the DAI rewards. It's invest those funds. And liquidate position, that is going to remove the funds from the underlying protocol. Because if a user withdraws, we need to give them their funds. And then the third part, it's write test. This is why I say it takes a lot of willpower and sitting down and doing the stuff. Because maybe you've done all this right, like 1 and 2, but you need to write tests. Like, if I deposit $1 million, what does it happen? If I withdraw the whole amount, if I withdraw the whole amount minus 1 way, what does it happen? Does it work well? If someone airdrops like a donation, does it work? All that stuff gotta be tested. And number 4 is you gotta test, and test. And try to catch all the edge cases. Okay, peer review. You got your strat written, and you want to publish it and test it in the experimental UI. What I said, the experimental UI, what you see on my left, yeah, that's an experimental link vault. What we do is, first, we need 2 peers to review the strat. That's super important, because Andrea says we test in prod, but as you've seen, we are, testing in prod, but we review the strats and we take care of that being a safe thing to do. So 2 peers review it. You can publish them you can publish the strat with a vault in the experimental UI, and that's what you will see. Because you have to use a name, it gotta be fun. Because this is all serious and stuff, but it gotta be a fun name like the frog prince and 2 emojis. And then promote it, because these are real funds, and we need users to test the edge cases we couldn't think about. So we're testing with little funds, with not so much, but we need to test it. Because when you code a strategy, you are going to do stuff that the strategy is usually prepared to do, but users are going to do always weird stuff. Like send funds to a strategy, or send funds to the bot, or do weird stuff. So we need to test it. Okay, you spent some time testing in the experimental UI. It's time for prime time. two things. It's a new protocol. Let's say it's Curve. Okay, we already have Curve Vaults. We already evaluated the security of the whole protocol. So we are fine to go. You don't do the safe farming committee because it's already approved in a decentralized way. But if it's a new protocol, there are 13 people that are going to evaluate your due diligence investigation, and they're going to say, hey, we think it's ready, or we think it's not ready to go to production. And then a core team review means we have two security specialists that are I don't want to say replacement, but for the lack of a better word, it's like a replacement for an audit. It's they will take a look at the strat. They will give you comments, that's for sure, about security optimizations and what you can do better security-wise. This guy is not going to know about the protocol you are farming or anything. They are going to take care of the security side of the thing. As usual, everything to GitHub. We want to keep traceability and transparency. Last step, it's going to the multi-sig. Two options here. You gotta ask a delegate, you gotta ask one of the guys, actually, it's one of the team members to write a transaction to the multi-sig, the Yearn main multi-sig. If it's a new token, a new protocol, you need to create a new vault for the website to show it. That's called endorsement. That's the name of the function. You can call it whatever you want. But if not, if it's just a strategy, believe it or not, it's more difficult. Because if you're going to add a strategy to a DAI vault, how much capital do you allocate to that new strategy? So that's something that the strategist and the safe farming committee is going to decide. Why? Because it's a way to, again, average the risk. If it's a new strat, even if it's the safest strategy in the world, you want to deploy little capital because it's been tested and experimental, but we still need to give it some time. And when you think about it, we have vaults with $500 million, and if you say, hey, let's allocate 1%, okay, that's a lot of money. So we gotta think twice about it. Once the transaction is done, the strategy is attached to the vault, and it's going to be shown in the chart that I showed you earlier. That's it. Your strategy is in production, but no, it's not the end of it. Because DeFi moves really, really fast. And we don't want like people coming and going like, hey, I did a strategy, we deployed it, and that's it. If you coded the strategy, you are going to be the expert in that protocol. And if something goes wrong or the API goes low, you gotta be there. So we need really strategies that are going to do this, like monitor, monitor, monitor. Monitor harvest, it's the function that collects the rewards. The debt ratio, the amount of capital deployed, so we don't crash yields. The APR, because maybe if we deploy less capital and more capital to other strategies, we can get a better yield for the users. In the end, this is for the users, so we gotta take care of the APR. And the state of the underlying protocol. If we see something going wrong or a pool imbalance or something, we have to take care. Even what we can do is like move the strategy of play, move the place of the strategy in the withdrawal queue, or reduce the debt ratio or whatever. And that's it. But I realized when I finished this talk, and that's what that QR code is about, I realized that I managed to build this strat because I had the support of the strategy of Yearn. So a few months ago, I started a group that is called the Wi-Fi Boarding School. That's there you will find senior strategists. It's not all newbies, as I am. So if you want to write a strat, you can join, and we'll help you guys. Thank you very much. So if you've got questions and whatever, I'm super open, no problem.
I have a question on tools. So,
Yep.
which kind of tools do you use to optimize the tools distribution across the strategies?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The-
What tools you use like to optimize the vaults distributions or allocations across the strategies?
We do simulations like APR and harvest simulations on mainnet fork. We use Ganache and we use Tenderly. to simulate what will be the outcome of, for example, changing. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go to this graph, I think. Changing the maker ETH delegate from 34.7 to 50%. What does it happen when we change to that amount of debt allocation and we harvest? The APR, is it going to be more? Is it going to be less? And it's based on simulations. It's this.
Are you doing this like daily, or?
Yeah, no, multiple times a day. But it's not like a random simulation. We have a lot of people that really understand how the market works and how the supply to a market and the utilization of that market if you're lending. So they really know more or less where to go and find these opportunities and change the debt ratios.
How many strategies do you usually have?
How many strategies?
Yeah, for
No, they can have up to 20. That's the limitation. But the most we have, I think it's 8 right now. That's changing like all the time. So yeah, it's 7 or 8.
and running at the same time. So like for example, here we have like 6 strategies, but like 4 only running, right?
Yeah.
But
There's 4.
I guess my question is what's the percentage of strategies being used? Like for example, if a vault has like 10 strategies, do the vault usually use only 3 or 8?
No. We have 8 working strategies in the DAI vault, for example, or
Okay.
USDC. Like I said, it's changing all the time. But
So
yeah, we have 7, 8 strategies working like right now.
So most of them are being used.
Yeah. That's the idea. The only time where we deploy, we attach strategies with zero debt ratio. For example, that's the case. Strategy maker ETH, the ETH delegate, those have the same name, but the one with 0 debt ratio, it's ETH A, the CDP from maker ETH A that has like 3.5 stability fee, and this one is ETH C that has, I think it's half a point or 1% maybe. So this one is better right now. That's the idea.
Hey, question. As you mentioned, this process is very involved, and the diligence, I'm guessing, takes a lot of time as well. How much time does it take on average, give or take, for a strategy to be developed?
It really depends. If you're writing, I wrote a strategy that stakes 88, stakes MPH and collects DAI, that are the rewards that MPH give you. That's a really simple strategy. It took me 3 weeks, and it's still in review. But it took me 3 weeks because I'm super newbie. But for strategists, it would take much less time. Now, if you're moving to something like SNX, the investigation part of the protocol and how to manage debt ratios and how to manage the actual economic security of the strategy, maybe will take you a month and a half. Yeah, depends on the complexity of the strategy. No, but the guy in purple had, and the guy in black. Sorry.
Do you ever use formal verification for the strategies?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
When you're testing, because you said there could be so many edge cases, do they ever have to eventually go through some kind of formal verification where you do, like...
We're not using formal verification right now. We're just using unit tests. And we have a bunch of default tests in the repo. That's what I love about the Brownie mix. And we run those tests, and we encourage people to write more tests. Yeah, we're not doing formal verification right now. No. You have the mic there.
Yeah. So would there ever be something that would hold you back from like developing a strategy with a protocol? Let's say it had a lot of requirements, like let's say generating zero knowledge proofs. You know, like say if it didn't have support in certain clients. I know most of it's using contracts. I'm just trying to grasp about. You know, there is yield strategies out there that require a bit more tedious processes to participate in. And I'm just kind of wondering, is there anything that would inhibit you from farming a certain strategy because of, let's say, depreciated SDKs or clients, or let's say a lot of overhead instead of just like simple deposit and reap the reward?
You're asking if the amount of work will prohibit? No, overhead off-chain?
Yeah, like so. As
Yeah.
like generating zero knowledge proof.
Yeah, no, that probably won't, would be difficult to implement because
of course.
in sake of transparency, we're trying to keep everything on-chain because it's verifiable.
Yeah,
But
it still would be, but yeah, there is a part that would.
yeah, I know, but anyway, if you check that's a good point because I want to say something about it. Here it says lossless. In a lossless way, the strategy is right there.
Okay.
That might not be the case. If you come tomorrow and say, hey Facu, I have this strategy. Maybe it can lose money. Okay, let's find a way. Let's find a way to hedge the strategy. Let's find a way to do it as experimental. So if it has off-chain calculations, let's check the case. It's that way. It's on a case-by-case basis. It's okay. Let's check it. We're super open about it. So yeah, bring it on.
You mentioned this due diligence and this whole process. I guess that there is some discussion happening in this process. Is it also public? So can I look into how other due diligences went?
The process, the discussion is not public because what we're trying to do is to also decentralize the liability. So the strategist is not the only person responsible for the safety of the strategy. We as a team are responsible. So the safe farming committee is not a public group. It's been part of a forum post in governance, in Yearn governance, but the name of the people is not public. Because of that, we're trying to offload the liability from one person only, because the strategy in the end is managing a lot of funds. Maybe for some people it seems that the guy who coded it is responsible, but that's not the case. We are responsible as a team. So that's why it's not public. But yeah, it's a discussion, and let's say you wrote a strategy and the safe farming committee say, hey man, it's a no-go because of this. For example, the multi-sig has 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3 signers. And you come and say, no, well, you can explain your case. This is we're open when we want to implement strategies. No, but those are, and I don't know if this will pass, but super public figures that they have their reputation at stake, and I don't know, maybe it can pass. So yeah.
Is there any communication between, or any plan of communication between vaults? Let's assume, for example, that right now the rewards are mainly for USDC, and you have the vault of DAI that is full, but you don't know how to deploy this DAI. So there are some strategies like cross vaults that are like changing DAI for USDC and deploying this USDC in the meantime.
Not that kind, like stable for stable, but this is a case of cross vault. The strategy maker ETH DAI delegate actually deposit ETH, withdraw DAI, and deposit into the DAI vault. That happens a lot. And there we have another example. That's the STE curve, single side. Everything single side deposit, it's going to deposit into a curve vault. So yeah, we do that a lot because it's better, because we reuse code. In the end, we have DAI and we have a DAI vault. So we say, okay, let's deposit there. So it's dog fooding also. So yeah, that's a good point. That's it. Thanks a lot, guys.